Originally built in Hyde Park to showcase the Great Exhibition of 1851, the Crystal Palace was eventually moved to a suburb of London now known as Upper Norwood, where between 1854 and 1936 it became a popular destination for thousands of Victorian pleasure seekers. After its move from Hyde Park, the huge wrought iron and glass edifice wound up being about 560 metres in length and around 50 metres high. It was created by Joseph Paxton, who received a knighthood for his efforts. For many years, the palace was a great attraction, with its exhibitions of arts and crafts or dinosaurs, its firework displays, balloon launches, its fountains and trees, and grand events such as a 3-day festival of Handel's music. Queen Victoria herself called the place enchanting. But during the Depression, diminishing ticket sales led to poor maintenance, and the final nail in its coffin was the fire which ravaged the building on the night of the 30th of November, 1936. Around 6 p.m, the manager, Henry Buckland, saw a red glow in a staff lavatory. He called workmen and went back to his duties, but within 5 minutes the building was ablaze. 381 firefighters using 89 engines battled the flames, but to no avail. Rumours of arson spread, but it seems likely it was all just a tragic accident. And just as with a smaller, earlier fire in 1866, there wasn't sufficient insurance to cover the costs of rebuilding. The destruction of the South Tower meant the loss of much of the pioneering work of John Logie Baird, who had been conducting television experiments there. The only parts left standing were the 2 mighty water towers constructed by the great Victorian engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel. These too were dismantled in the Second World War because of fears the Germans could use them to navigate their way to London. And as the fire destroyed London's favourite playground, the future Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, pronounced, "This is the end of an age." The world's worst offshore oil disaster to date took place on a North Sea oil production platform called Piper Alpha on the 6th of July 1988. On that date, an explosion and fire took the lives of 167 men out of the 229 on board at the time. The oil rig was operated by Occidental Petroleum and began production 12 years before that, drilling for oil initially and peaking at 300,000 barrels per day, but then focusing on its new gas recovery module from around 1980. The conversion from oil to gas was partly responsible for the high number of casualties, as the previous safety precautions of having the most dangerous areas as far away from personnel as possible were overridden, with examples like the gas compression area being situated right next to the control room. The chain of events on the night of the 6th of July began with maintenance work on a pressure relief valve on one of the 2 huge gas compressors. Communication between shifts was faulty, meaning that when compressor B failed later that evening, operators were unaware that compressor A should not have been activated. The resulting explosion destroyed the control room, which was then abandoned. This meant that there was no one in command able to coordinate an evacuation. 2 men donned protective gear and attempted to access the system manually, but were never seen again. As fire spread throughout the platform, it prevented personnel from gathering at lifeboat stations. Instead, they waited for instructions that never came in the fireproofed accommodation block, until the acrid smoke began to filter in and escape became impossible. Even so, the fire would have burned itself out had it not been for the 2 other platforms, Tartan and Claymore. Lacking the authority to cease operations, even though they could see what was happening, they continued pumping oil through to Piper Alpha, leading to ruptured gas lines, further explosions, and a devastating loss of life. Eventually, the fire was extinguished by the renowned American firefighter Red Adair, who, struggling against 80-mile-an-hour winds and 25-metre waves, took 3 weeks to control the fires, pumping cement into the wells and then capping them.
Three, two, one.